Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Meg Moonbeam and Redpill Rooster YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. I'm so happy to be here today with my friend Luke to get into week 2 recap with the astrology, tarot, and our intuitive and conspiracy theorists research analysis on the P. Diddy trial so far. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this. I eat, live, and breathe all of this conspiracy stuff. So, I'm excited to come on and just have somebody to talk about it with.
Yeah, for sure. And I know when I announced it in my socials that we were going to be doing this together today, there were quite a few people like, oh, awesome, excited to see Luke. So, very happy to have you here. And it's more fun to do these things together. And that's what Pluto and Aquarius and the age of Aquarius is all about. It's definitely a challenge for me as a controlling Scorpio freak. Sometimes I like to just do things on my own, but it's actually more fun when we embrace doing things together in like-minded community.
I agree.
So, yeah. So you guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. All my links are in the description box below. And let me bring up, I actually finished your book today, Luke. I
Oh,
was like
wow. Fantastic.
I was 60% through it. And then when the conference started, I took a pause and it's just been kind of crazy ever since the Beyond Mystic conference. And I finished it today. So for those of you who don't know, Redpill Rooster is a published author. You can find his book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills on Amazon. And you've got a paperback version now.
I do. I finally got that out and, had the publisher whip it up. It's been exciting. It's been a journey to, get the book written. I mean, it took me about a year and a half to actually write the book. And it's about 12 years of
Wow.
research compiled into, a book that is really designed to walk the reader through um, the dots that we are connecting, right?
Mhm.
This isn't just a book of random conspiracies that I believe in. It is very much to a point and boils down everything that we're seeing, here today in that we're watching play out. It seems like on a
Mhm.
daily basis now, um, into a very succinct point and what is the goal of all of these conspiracies, which in my opinion are they're all connected, right? They're not
For
isolated.
sure.
They're not, in a vacuum by any means. Everything that we're seeing play out in the real world these days, from Comey to Diddy, is all
Mhm.
connected. So a lot of these things are touched on, including I talk about Diddy briefly. That was all happening right as
Mhm.
I was finishing my book. And James Comey's mentioned in it as well. And so it's really taking the reader through those dots and starting with my very first red pill, which for me was 9/11. But
Right.
I don't want to hijack the show here talking about my book, but please do check it out. My goal with this book is to donate the proceeds to a foundation that is helping women and children, people
Mm.
that are victims of trafficking. I actually haven't found a worthwhile organization for that yet. I have a connection into a pretty high political person who I won't name. They're also in my book. I changed their names in that book as
Okay.
well. But essentially, that person has been my connect to somebody who does a lot of deep research on companies, on people, on organizations. And so the standard paths of donation haven't worked out. I won't name the companies that I was looking at donating to and said, hey, what about this company? What about that company? And so she would send off, questions to her guy, and her guy would come back with all of this information and basically say, no, don't do anything with that organization. So if you know of a worthwhile organization out there, please connect with me on X, shoot me a DM. Make sure that you in the DM say something that like you saw this episode, because otherwise I'm going to probably ignore the DM on X in case you don't know who you're dealing with. But
Yeah.
I'm open to um, taking a look at some other organizations out there who are trying to help the women and children that have been involved in this type of thing.
I love that. That is so awesome that you're doing that. So, yeah, you guys go check out Luke's book under the name Redpill Rooster over on Amazon. And I'm going to have to buy a couple of the paperback editions for sure. So, okay, before we get into the Diddy trial, Luke, how are you just feeling overall with the energies of this moment? I know for me, I've been feeling really big, just up and downs. I feel like the past month in particular, through this Taurus season, just feeling really high one moment, really low the next, feeling like I'm going crazy a little bit, but knowing, where we go one, we go all, like you
Yeah,
talk about in your book, just keep on trucking. We're not crazy. How are you doing right now?
I'm feeling really energized. I mean, seeing the things that are happening, I mean, it's encouraging, and there's a lot of talk out there and a lot of skepticism, reasonably so, about, oh, how come we haven't seen this yet? How come we haven't seen that yet? In related to
Mm,
arrests and that sort of thing. The reality of this entire operation, and I do believe it's an operation, as I go into in depth about in my book, um, is that there is no underemphasizing how big this operation is,
right.
and it needs to be taken step by step, and the importance of little steps can't be understated here. And so, we have to let these things, unfold, but we're seeing it happen. I mean, just so much is happening day to day, from Trump, going to the Middle East and making these trade deals, and what I really perceive as new alliances with parts of the world that we've never had alliances with.
Mhm.
And, I used to live in Abu Dhabi, so I've lived in the
Wow.
Middle East. Yeah, I lived in the
I
Middle
did
East.
not know that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I've lived in 5 countries, 4 outside the United States. 2 of them were in Europe. I lived in the UK. I lived in Ireland, and I lived in the UAE, and I lived in Thailand. And I can say that, the culture of, Middle East is, it's rooted in tradition, and yes, very conservative. Um, I just think that we've entered a time where, um, people are getting tired of seeing these crooked leaders, pave the way through the Western world, and everyone's just following them, and it's all based on, oh, well, they've been our ally for so long. And I think
Mhm.
we're seeing major shifts in alliances, and I think that's what, beyond the trade deals, I think these are new allies. And
Right.
is maybe as unpopular of an opinion as that might be, I think that it allows Trump and to move forward throughout the world in a new way, where, hey, if he breaks these old alliances, we're already welcomed with open arms in
Mm,
in the Middle East. Through the entire
right.
Middle East is behind us. The kings of the old world have now taken their place firmly behind Donald Trump, who some will say is the king of the world right now. So
He's the
whether
king
you
of the
like that or not.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is, so well said, and it's just, like, so many things going on at the same time. I'm finding, and I know many of you guys, when I do many of my live shows almost every single day, people are feeling very scattered at the moment. But I felt really guided to do a weekly live stream on this P. Diddy trial. I just have a feeling about it. It's happening during, as I talked about in the video from last week, during a Pluto retrograde, which is literally the best time for secrets to be revealed, for court trials to happen, where we really want to get to the nitty gritty of what's going on. And of course, it's P. Diddy, one of the biggest celebrities of all time, that has been very connected to some of these dark arts people, like the Clintons and the Liberal Party, that whole gang. So I have this very strong feeling that it's important to pay attention to this, at least for me and whoever that resonates with as well. I feel like it is a lot of information every day. There is a lot that we want to share with you guys, but we'll be mindful of the time at the same time. So, Luke, why do you think that this is important to be paying attention to at this time?
Well, in my opinion, there's a lot of people out there that have successfully ignored all the other things that are going on that we've been paying attention to, in the conspiracy community, in the woo, if you will, that they have successfully kept their head in the sand about these things. And we know that there's still people out there with TDS and all of that.
Mhm.
And for some of these people, this information is not going to hit home until it really starts to hit their favorite celebrities that they're
Right.
watching. I mean, we in America live in such a celebrity driven culture that people look up to these celebrities like demigods.
Yeah.
They can do no wrong. They must have done all the right things in their life in order to get to where they are. And I think that this trial is going to lay the groundwork for people to start to see, oh, these people are not just flawed, but nefarious, right? Some of
Mhm.
them are deeply engaged into black ritual, dark magic, and
Yeah.
you know Satanism, the SRA, all of that stuff is real, and it's a hard thing for the average person to just listen to a conversation about SRA, but when all of a sudden some of this stuff starts to come out through a trial where somebody like P Diddy's involved, other major celebrities are going to be named. We don't know who yet, so that'll be part of the interesting excitement to see whose names are actually come out and who
Mhm.
who actually comes up to testify. I
Yeah.
think that this is big for those people because it's going to start to highlight the very deep flaws and the the tarnished legacy of the Hollywood culture that already exists.
So true, and I totally agree with that. I forgot to say that, people literally worship these celebrities. I know I used to be there. I totally used to be there. I used to, wanna be a rock and roll musician, and that was my dream for a really long time,
Yeah.
and that's something I'm still passionate about, and I idolized these people, right?
Yes.
And then even going through this P. Diddy trial, we're hearing some of these names come out, like Kid Cudi has just come out this past week. It came out that Casey Ventura had an affair with Kid Cudi, and that's one of the reasons why Diddy was abusive to her. He was abusive to her for so many different reasons. That was just kind of one of the smaller ones. But like, I love Kid Cudi as a musician, and I don't want to think that he's in this club. Hopefully, he's not in this club. But I think all these truths are going to be revealed
Yeah.
eventually. So, yeah, Luke, you sent me this earlier today, and this is really,
Mm.
really interesting. This video, was this yesterday of the ship that crashed into, was it the Brooklyn Bridge or the
Yeah.
Manhattan Bridge?
Yeah, this is the Brooklyn Bridge, and I just thought this popped up on my X feed, and I thought, "Wow, what an interesting coincidence that
Yeah.
this happened right as the P. Diddy trial starting to heat up," and it made me reflect back to when was the last time we had a boat crash into a bridge? Well, it was, like, the day after his house got raided.
Wow.
And so, these people, they have very long reach. They've got deep pockets. They know a lot of
Mhm.
people. They they are deeply connected into a cabal, right? It's
Right.
a web of secrets and lies that has taken hold of well our entire political system. As you can see, like we know now that our politicians have been blackmailed by people like, yeah, Diddy is
Mhm.
blackmailing other people in Hollywood. There's politicians that are being blackmailed by him as well. But I would imagine, plenty of politicians have been to the Diddy parties,
Right.
as well as the island that shall not be
Mhm.
named right now. So,
Yeah,
um,
and what
yeah,
do you okay, how weird is this? Like, we had this past weekend while this ship boating accident happened, Sun conjunct Uranus aspect, which is all about weirdness, unexpected surprises. I mean, how weird is it that there's this ship with a huge freaking Mexican flag
right,
going under the Manhattan Bridge? It's obviously too low, yet it still goes through. It's like going back to there's just information overload, so many things happening at the same time.
right.
Right, and then we have these coincidences, right? Like you're bringing up, well, actually not a coincidence, this synchronicity, right? The
Mhm.
last time that we had something like this was when his house got raided, right? So absolutely wild, very interesting. So we're in week 2 of this trial now, where the trial has actually begun. The jury has been selected. We've got a jury of 8 males and 4 female New Yorkers. Very interesting that in this trial, there's lots of people from the public in the courthouse. So it's an absolutely packed courthouse, including, I find this very disturbing, P. Diddy's kids are
So
there
weird.
the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
this is not normal to be sitting in a trial listening to your dad's little pee-pee, how small it is, all the baby oil he likes to use, all these things. It's very strange, right?
Yeah. Right.
So we've had opening statements and witnesses have started to take the stand, including, I mean, how weird can this get? Casey Ventura, 8.5 months pregnant.
She's going to have a baby during this trial.
Yeah.
Most likely. I
Mhm.
mean, that's wild. That's wild.
I mean, this is, you can't make this stuff up, that she's reliving the biggest horrors that she's ever gone through in her life. I don't know her whole life story, but I think
Right.
going through something like this must be the worst of the worst, probably, right? While
Yeah,
she's 8.5 months pregnant. So absolutely
totally.
wild. So she testified this week from Monday to Friday. So they made the opening statements and then she testified. And actually, before we get into her testimony, I want to share, and I shared this with you earlier, Luke. I just want to play a really quick piece of, I've never seen this before. This is very Pluto in Aquarius, what's going on right now. The AI generated version of the opening statements from the
Wild.
prosecution and the defense. So, have you ever seen this with a trial? Because I've never seen this with a trial.
Never. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched a 30-minute AI video where I was like, I definitely want to watch this, but
Yeah.
yeah, and the AI is very good, I will say, and it makes it really sets the scene, and helps to just, set the tone and have a face, have something to look at rather than just sitting there listening to. I do think that and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems
Yeah.
like maybe this is actual recording or is this AI generated from transcript?
I don't know. I thought it was AI generated from the transcript. I
Okay. Okay.
think, 'cause it's a federal case, so I might be wrong because 'cause I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think, maybe it is being audio recorded, but I don't think this is the audio recording of it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so cool that this is now a new Pluto and Aquarius innovation. So interesting that Pluto rules the courts, Scorpio, anything that has to do with crime, true crime, and Aquarius is technology. So during this Pluto and Aquarius transit that we're in right now, we're starting to have AI generated true crime. This could make people rich, having whole YouTube and Rumble channels of just the AI generated crime.
Oh,
I know for me, I love this stuff. So
yeah.
let's just take a couple minutes and I'll put this at a faster playback speed so we can get the most out of it, of this prosecution's opening statement, AI generated from Law and Crime Network.
Of the facts. The Constitution itself recognizes your unique role in our system of justice. So please pay careful attention to the witnesses and evidence received at trial, as well as my instructions on the law. I thank you for your commitment to performing this civic duty and recognize the sacrifices that you have all
That's
made to be here today. We will now begin with opening statements. Is the government prepared to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
This is Sean Combs. To the public, he was Puff Daddy, or Diddy, a cultural icon, a businessman larger than life. But there was another side to him, a side that ran a criminal enterprise. During this trial, you are going to hear about 20 years of the defendant's crimes. But he didn't do it alone. He had an inner circle of bodyguards and high ranking employees who helped him commit crimes and helped him cover them up. Kidnapping, arson, drugs, sex crimes, bribery, and obstruction. These are just some of the crimes that the defendant and his inner circle committed again and again. You are going to hear about all of them during this trial. Let's start now with just one night. The defendant was on the hunt for his girlfriend, a woman named Cassie. For years, the defendant physically abused Cassie. He also sexually exploited her, forcing her to have sex with male escorts while he watched and recorded it. But that night, the defendant learned he had lost control of Cassie. He found out Cassie was seeing another man. Furious, he set out to find Cassie and that other man, but he couldn't do it by himself. So he took his gun and he took his bodyguard, one of his most loyal lieutenants, to wake up one of the defendant's employees in the middle of the night. The defendant yelled that he was going to kill the man Cassie was with. He demanded that his employee take him to that man's home. The defendant forced the employee out of her apartment and into an SUV. They drove to the house. The defendant and his bodyguard broke in, but no one was there. The defendant did give up. He kept looking for Cassie. When he finally found her, he did what he had done countless times before. He beat her brutally, kicking her in the back and flinging her around like a rag doll. All of that violence wasn't enough, though. The defendant had to make sure he had control over Cassie once again. So he threatened her. The defendant told Cassie that if she defied him again, he would publicly release the videos of her having sex with male escorts that he kept as blackmail. Souvenirs of the most humiliating nights of her life. This was just one night in the defendant's 2 decades of crime. In one night, he and his lieutenant kidnapped an employee, broke into a man's house, and the defendant beat and blackmailed his girlfriend. And as you will learn, this was just the tip of the iceberg. These are not the only crimes the defendant committed. That's not the only time he kidnapped someone, and Cassie is not the only woman he beat or sexually exploited. For 20 years, the defendant, with the help of his trusted inner circle, committed crime after crime. That's why we're here today. That's what this case is about.
So it goes on, you guys. You can see the AI generated prosecution's opening statement and defense opening statement over at Law and Crime Network. And that's awesome that the channel put that out there. I found the one from, let me just show the screenshot of this here really quick. The defense opening statement, even weirder, because the lawyer was talking like, yes, he did really abuse Cassie. And yes, he was a drug dealer. And yes, he did do this, but he's not a part of a sex trafficking ring. Like, do you guys think we're stupid?
Right. They really made that entire opening statement for the defense centered around jealousy, essentially.
Right.
They just make it sound like it was a very jealous relationship and it was an open relationship and that they were swingers and, these women willfully participated in all of this. And I'm sure that is true to some degree.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I think we're gonna see and hear a lot that really sets the tone that it goes beyond that these women really were being beaten and leveraged with blackmail to do his bidding, to do what he wanted to do. But I do think that the prosecution has an uphill battle against them, because all it takes is one juror to hang a jury, right? All it takes is one person to say, oh, I'm not convinced, it seems like maybe it was consensual to a large degree, or, maybe she's just jealous. Maybe she just wants money. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an open and shut case by any means. It kind of reminds me back to the OJ trial in the 90s. Did you guys see that? I know, maybe that wasn't as big of a deal for Canadians.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Canadians saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very young, but I've seen it in later years. And yeah, it was a big thing in Canada too.
Yeah. And, that trial was very racially charged, so from my understanding, the prosecutor, excuse me, the defense found a lawyer that was very good at picking jurors, and is sort of known for being able to pick jurors who would favor their defense. And so we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out, but I think the prosecution's fighting an uphill battle here.
Yes, definitely. They will. I think the defense is going to stop at nothing with the very powerful forces behind them to not get whatever information can possibly come out. Before we get into some of the specifics around this past week, Luke, what are your just general feelings intuitively, just your thoughts from what you've seen from week 2?
I mean, I hate to say it, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm kind of with Big Homie in that video. Maybe we'll show you, or we'll show in this video, but I think he might get off. It wouldn't completely surprise me. But with that said, I don't think that this is his last trial by any means. I think this is the appetizer. right? Because is with all the charges that they laid out against him, sex trafficking and drug dealing and all of that stuff. They don't get into anything regarding children. And so
Mm,
we know, so there's no charges against him regarding children. And
mhm.
it'll be interesting to see if this trial goes down that path at all. Because even if it does, they can't just, convict him for doing anything with, a child that's not there, that's not being represented. And
Right.
so I think that, this is just the appetizer to the main course. Uh, there's a lot more to come when we start talking about how many minors were involved here.
Right.
The rumors and the stories about the busloads of children that were brought in at 3 a.m., that sort of thing. Uh,
Mhm.
but if it gets touched on, I mean, he will be cooked, and it might not be might be a slow cooking, but regardless, at
Might
some
be a
point or
slow.
another, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Well, we do have Mars in the sign of Leo during this child, which Leo does rule children. So matters having to do with children are highlighted right now. We just went through that very long Mars Pluto opposition transit. So I think it is possible to come out in this trial, but then again, being realistic, maybe that would be too much for the public and the normies to all come out at once. We know that everything is happening in stages right now.
yeah,
Akasha here in the chat says, I want to see arrests, lots of them. Let those idols fall off their pedestals. We are with you, Akasha. We want to
100.
see arrests. Totally. And I know for me, Luke, and maybe you want to express if you're comfortable with it. But the normies, the sleepies, Sunny has come up with that term lately, in my lives, they are totally not aware of any of this stuff yet. So if children started to get brought into the mix, that would be the biggest red pill ever and might
Yes.
possibly be too much. But already, we've gone through our wake up processes. So that was a lot for us. So at a certain point, the truth has to be revealed, right?
Yes, yeah, and that is the whole notion behind Q, is that crimes against children will unite the world. I
Right.
mean, when you see and hear some of the videos that us in this community have already watched and read about these things, it's just appalling. It hurts your soul to
Mhm.
watch it, and it's one of those things that you just can't ignore. I mean, it's the reason that I wrote my book.
Right.
I decided that I had to do something in my own little way, however, whatever small effect that may have. I just needed to know that I did something to help shine a light on this thing that's happening to children, because I
Mhm.
just I can't stand it.
Yeah, for sure. It is unbearable. Excuse me, you guys. Linda says, yes, too much at once for our sleepy brothers and sisters would be too much. Should we maybe pull some tarot cards, Luke, on are we going to have children being brought into this in a big way? Will
Let's
the
do it.
subject of children? Okay, so what Luke and I, we both got our cards.
Yeah.
So, let's see what we got here.
Are you gonna
I'm going
pull?
to
You want me
pull.
to pull? Should we both pull?
We'll both pull. Do you want to share first and then I'll
Sure.
share?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many cards are we pulling?
I'm gonna pull, I feel like 3.
Okay.
Oh. Wow, okay.
Ooh. All right. Well, I
Watch
got
us get completely opposite messages. Sorry to interrupt.
I got the 5 of Cups in reverse. So, I think this card really speaks for itself. This person is in mourning.
Mm,
It's the dark night of the soul. It's somebody who's looking at or thinking about considering the loss that they've gone through. With it being upside down, I can actually kind of see this being like in our community looked at as you know, sad but good, right?
Mhm.
So that this thing is coming out, and then the second card, I got the Ace of Pentacles. So I think absolutely we're going to hear something about children, and then the Queen of Cups. So maybe a
Wow.
very big emotional, a big woman, a big woman, a,
Big one.
a big player, a big name that is a woman, and maybe a very emotional, in touch person is going to come forward and perhaps be the revelation behind the children. So that's what I got. That's how I would interpret this.
Wow, okay, good thing that my cards align with your cards. I got
Hey,
3 wands.
3
3
wands,
wands.
all
You've
fire.
got the 4 of wands, which
Okay.
is like celebration, victory, very positive. So I feel
Hmm.
like right off the bat, and of course, we're on this timeline, you guys. I do think that things can change, but based off where we're at right now, I feel like right off the bat, this is saying, yes, this is more than likely going to come out. You can't make this stuff up. The 8 of wands,
Wow.
which is messages coming in fast.
Hmm.
So this might even be something that comes up like in week 3 or week
Hmm.
4 or week
Hmm.
5. And this is one of my favorite tarot cards, the victory card, the 6 of wands.
Wow.
So like a victory for the children, a victory for humanity. It's a Leo card, which is associated with children. So, okay, interesting. We're kind of getting the
Wow.
message here, Luke, that this might actually come out with this trial.
I like it. And it's 8 weeks. So that 8 of wands, I mean, we may see a lot of information very fast every single week coming out. So
For sure.
that
Right.
resonates a lot with me.
Yeah. And you brought up big homie CC.
Yeah.
That's one of the clips that we want to share with you guys. I love the way that this guy talks because
Yeah.
he speaks in riddles and he's got me on the
Totally.
hook. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, give me the whole scoop. And he won't answer. He's answering the questions in a very kind of passive way, but
Coy.
giving you the coy way.
Yeah.
So this was actually one of Diddy's bodyguards, and he's now speaking out against Diddy. So this is from Pierce Morgan Uncensored from a few days ago, and he says, somebody didn't want me to do this interview. We'll just listen to a little bit of this interview here.
This sounds familiar. You know, along this path, I've been poisoned 3 times. My toxicology report showed cyanide, and you know, cyanide metabolizes into pneumonia in your body. So I've had pneumonia on 3 occasions. You know, and these problems didn't start for me until I started to speak out about people like this. You know, it's been a hard time to line up this interview
Oh, sorry, guys.
because the last time I was scheduled to be in this interview, randomly, our car gets hit from the side by a blacked out vehicle, no license plate. That's happened 3 times this month so far.
Really?
Wow.
Didn't want me to do this interview. Yeah, somebody didn't want me to do this interview. You know, I'm somebody where I've had FBI come to my house before and tell me they found a threat against my life. So, you know, I'm well versed in this world. But you know, I got round the clock security. One of them was sitting right here with me right now. This is a dangerous game people are playing, and it's a good feeling for me to see the justice system prevail. And some people deserve retribution.
You clearly
Mhm.
feel that Sean Combs over the years has made people disappear.
Right. Well, Pierce, let me ask you a question. From your journalistic perspective, have you ever noticed how in this industry, people untimely meet their demise as soon as somebody else seems like they're having a problem? Have you ever seen that before?
Well, there was, of course, the case of one of his other ex-girlfriends, Kim Porter, who died of pneumonia at a very young age. You just referenced.
Okay, we're going to get to Kim Porter. I've got
Yeah.
something very trippy to share with you guys in regards to that. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about kind of the main course of this past week two in the trial, which is Casey Ventura's testimonies from Monday to Friday. There's a lot of information there. There's so much information there. If you guys want, there are YouTube channels that literally live stream the whole trial every day and read out all the transcripts. We're not going to do that here week to week. We're going to give you kind of our main subjects of the week after it's happened. So what I want to play next, is there anything, Luke, from Casey's testimony so far that have really stood out to you?
You know, just the thing that really stood out to me was the detail about the one guy that I hate to even say it, like peed.
Oh,
And
right.
it's just so gross. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, for that, again, that level of depravity is, you know, next level, you know, to even want to watch that and then to want to watch somebody do that to your wife is,
Yeah.
I can't even come to terms to really understand where this
Mhm.
person's mind is at. It's just gross. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah. It's totally agree. It's absolutely disgusting. There's no words for it whatsoever. So this is a lady that I really like on X, Lauren Conlin. She must be a Scorpio or something because she's going in there every single day live. She's watching the trial and she's making these update videos afterwards every day. So this is a video that we want to share with you guys on Diddy trial day 2, afternoon break. Enough with the baby oil, please.
There's a 10-minute break. Cassie is still on the stand. I had to do this video because it's getting crazy. I mean, the talk of baby oil, and I'm not even trying to be funny, the talk of baby oil got to a point where they had to have a sidebar. Thank goodness Tenny Garagos objected, because at one point, Emily Johnson, doing a great job as the prosecutor, she's questioning Cassie, and she probably questioned her for about 10 minutes about baby oil. And it got to the point where Cassie had to tell us that she, Sean Combs made her get into a blow up pool of baby oil and Astroglide with all of her clothes on.
What the
And then
fuck?
we had to hear about how many bottles of baby oil they went through during a freak off, which by the way was 10. And she described they were the big size bottles. I mean, there's so much more. I didn't bring my notepad out, but I mean, a lot of us are wondering, what does this have to do with anything? Are they just trying to corroborate the freak offs when other witnesses come on the stand and talk about this baby oil and Astroglide? It's really, really strange. And I'm just going to say it. I know that it's day 2. I understand it's day 2, but I'm wondering when we are going to hear more about his criminal enterprise, about the sex trafficking, the transportation across state lines, because right now Cassie is giving really, really tragic testimony, and I feel awful for her. This is horrible. But it definitely is. It's seeming to me so far, it's day 2. It's just seeming like it is a lot of domestic violence, a lot of assault and awfulness. I mean, he treated her horribly. He's a vile man. I'm just trying to figure out when we're going to start really getting into these charges. I mean, right now I'm in the overflow room, and people in the overflow room are kind of like, what's going on? What are we listening to? And yeah, I mean, at another point, she asked Cassie, why did you continue to participate in these freak offs, or why did you say yes to a freak off? And Cassie actually under her breath was like, good question. But she broke down crying on the stand, and it was awful. It was so awful. She, she just talked about how much she loved Sean Combs and how, she did these freak offs so she could be with him. And that is just really sad. But I'm gonna go back up. But
Yeah, it is really messed up and really sad. And I had this thought earlier today, okay? Because this shit is not normal. Okay, P. Diddy, okay, he's a Scorpio. Scorpios are known for, they can like sex, sexual activities, but to want to have these freak offs all the time for
Yeah.
days on end that last for hours and hours and hours with all these supplies and all these escorts and all these specific details, this is not normal. And I had a feeling about this earlier today, Luke. I had a feeling about a word that you talk about in your book that I don't think I can say on YouTube. Something that would make people very energized, feel more youthful, feel more sexual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could have something to do with this? And I'm talking about a word that starts with an A, ends with an E, rhymes with amenamome. What do you think about that?
I think that's a big possibility. I think that there's clearly something beyond this just being a sexual gratification,
Right.
to go to the extent of, the level of humiliation that he was putting these women through. I think that's where, the prosecution has some footing to go, look, obviously they were being blackmailed. Obviously,
Right.
he was holding this footage and everything over their heads, because who would willingly want to take part in these things where
Right.
they're being abused and tortured in some cases, in my opinion. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that there's definitely something else that's going on, and that line of thinking was same thing. I was thinking
Mhm.
about this while I was listening to both the prosecution and the defense's opening statements.
Mhm.
Is why so often? This was going on every
Right.
single week, and
Mhm.
so was it just to get more footage? Was it just to blackmail more people into this web, this insidious web, whereby then you can control people? Um,
Right.
or is this part of a dark ritual, right? Is this
Mhm.
part of something where I saw somebody mention a word here in the chat?
Yep.
I can't find it, but somebody wrote "loosh." So,
Oh, right.
is this
Mhm.
is this a loosh type of ritual? I think it's a very good question. It
Mhm.
goes beyond just a general satisfaction, if you ask
Right.
me.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't make sense. It's like who does that for days and days and days, for hours and hours and hours with all these resources? Just very weird. D. Breck says baby oil was laced with ketamine. Yeah, I don't know about ketamine, but I did hear somewhere, and I can't remember where I found it, that the baby oil might have been laced with something that was making people more docile or even sick so that Diddy could control them. So, absolutely messed up. Let's listen to Lauren again. This is her from day 3.
Day 3 of the Diddy trial. Cassie is still on the stand, and we are learning what a true and vile POS he is. We saw text messages that Cassie showed us from the night of the Intercontinental Hotel video, where you'd think he's saying sorry to her. I'm so sorry. I love you. Nope. He's saying, please call me. I have kids, because he's scared that she's going to report him or something. When she doesn't respond, he actually lies and says, I'm getting arrested. And she doesn't respond until finally she says, I'm unplugging, going to bed. I suggest you do the same. I mean, it's ridiculous and pathetic. We've seen bruises. Cassie took bruises of her mouth that day, which is totally swollen. She has sunglasses on. Then we see pictures of her on a red carpet where she's covering all these different types of bruises. She, oh my gosh, she told us about an instance where she just went out with her friends, one of her gay friends, and then her best friend. She came back home, fell asleep on the couch. Diddy burst into her house, screaming at her, getting violent with her, and her friends jumped on his back to get him to stop. And at this point, he's wrestling with Cassie. He wrestles her off of him, throws her against her dresser or the end of her bed, and she has an eyebrow gash where she had to go to an emergency plastic surgeon because she was set to perform at Drake's music festival. I mean, we are seeing
Oh
so
my
much.
God.
Cassie told us that she was
Wow.
expected to perform freak-offs when she had UTIs, and she told us about all the UTIs she had, how painful they were. Sorry, hair in my mouth. She told us that she would try to be singing in the studio and she would have mouth sores. And then something that was so disturbing to me on top of everything else was she talked about a fight they had at the Cannes Film Festival where Diddy kicked her off of the boat that they were staying without shoes, without money, without her purse. So she walked over to the staff hotel. She didn't see him until later that night at the Cannes Film Festival. They show us a picture where she looks beautiful, but again, she's covering up bruises. And that night, he is squeezing her leg as hard as he can during this movie premiere. He's glaring at her and she's in pain. And they leave that night and she moves to another seat to not sit with him. He follows her. And on that flight, he shows her freak off videos the entire time, basically threatening her. And there are other people around and she's terrified. And she says they land in New York, they go to dinner, and then she's expected to perform in a freak off. I mean, Cassie lived a very sad life for 11 years. She was terrified. She felt
11
trapped.
years.
She did not know
Long
what to
time.
do. Now, I think they're getting to the sex trafficking aspect of all this. She listed another 12 escorts who they transported allegedly, to different cities to be with them. And one of them was that guy, Jonathan Otto, that we saw. He came out in the news saying, I think he brought a gun into the Trump Hotel or Mar-a-Lago. And then he was caught on camera saying all these crazy things about Diddy and Cassie, and Diddy paid him off and he had an NDA. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty credible. I wrote so many things down. It's really wet outside. So I will do another update later. I'm trying to think. Oh, Miss Yep.
I love this lady. She's just like a trooper. She's out there all day in the courtroom. Oh my God. Okay. Your takeaways from that, Luke.
He sounds scary.
Yeah.
I mean, really, he sounds very scary. I mean, even for a guy, if you had somebody that was already abusing you like that, and, then you're in public with them and you're watching a movie and they're squeezing your leg throughout the movie and you can't leave. And, everyone is looking at you like, oh, that's his girlfriend or his wife. And, they think that everything is normal-ish, right? Whatever that is in the Hollywood world. But yeah, I mean, this definitely sounds like it is way beyond it being, a swingers relationship, and beyond it being just like standard abuse. This very much sounds like setting somebody up for blackmail and then using them to blackmail other people as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not normal at all. Tim here. Hi, Tim says Stockholm syndrome. For sure. And some of you guys may be listening to this like, how the heck does somebody stay in a situation like that, right? I know from my personal experience, I have been in a abusive relationship before from someone that I now have like a restraining order from. It was pretty scary. And when you're in that situation, you are completely under that person's power and control. And I know many of you guys have also been through that. So for some of you who have never been through that and think, oh, Cassie, she must be making that up. That's bullshit. You would never allow yourself to be treated like that in those situations. When you completely give your power away to someone, you will do anything, as messed up as that sounds, because you look at them as the power in your life. It's kind of weird to explain, but I can understand why Cassie did the things she did, as messed up as that sounds.
Yeah,
totally
absolutely. I mean, Stockholm syndrome is a perfect summation, whoever said that. I mean, fear is a weapon. And I mean, we've seen fear weaponized by people. We've seen fear weaponized by governments. It happens every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you're saying, Meg, when somebody is under the thumb of somebody else or in fear of them and what they're going to do and what that is going to, how that's going to impact your life. And then who's going to find out about it? I mean, just think about the average relationship where there is no abuse happening per se, but a breakup happens. And then that you've got to go ahead and answer all the questions to your friends and family of what happened, right? It's the same thing, only this is, not next level. This is like 10 levels beyond that.
Yeah, definitely. Should we maybe pull some cards on I'm sorry, you guys, I keep pronouncing her freaking name wrong. Please, my apologies. Not Casey, it's Cassie. Okay, how do you say it, Luke? Is it Cassie?
It's Cassie, yeah.
Okay, Cassie. Okay, I'll try my best to say it right, Cassie.
Her real name is Cassandra, I believe.
Cassandra. Okay.
Yep.
Should we maybe pull some cards on Cassie? Is she telling the truth? Is she telling the whole truth? Because it's
Absolutely.
very sad, right? It's pulling at our heartstrings, but we need to be discerning at all times.
Absolutely. And I think that, her coming into a courtroom where she's pregnant automatically, and that pregnant too. I mean, she's
Right.
like right at the end.
Right.
It engenders a lot of sympathy for her and for, everything that she's gone through. When you mentioned that right at the top of the show, what I thought about was, what is that poor baby going through as she's reliving all this
Mm,
stuff in a courtroom, talking about it, getting emotional. I mean,
right.
everything that goes through the mother goes into the baby. So I send some prayers out for that little baby.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull some cards.
Yeah. Cassie. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh boy.
What are you
Yeah.
getting?
You want to go first? You want me?
Sure, I'll go first.
All
I'm
right.
getting the sun card right off the bat.
Oh,
So
wow.
the sun can have to do with, to me, that's like a yes card. It also has to do with children and the inner child. And it's interesting because someone in the comments said that she got with him when she was really, really young. So yeah, I forgot to mention that, but that's true. So it's like, I feel she's speaking from her inner child, and I feel intuitively like she doesn't even remember everything that happened. And I'm actually getting the sense that there's a lot of different layers to what's going on at these Diddy parties where people don't remember everything. So
Mhm.
maybe there's some kind of mind control or ritual to that, but it's feeling like, I feel like she's in a very inner childlike state through
Mm.
this process. And it's scary. I think I got this card for her last week, if I'm not mistaken, you guys, the 9 of Wands. It's scary for her.
Mhm.
She may even be holding back a little bit. Like as I'm talking, I'm feeling my throat chakra closing. She may even be holding some things back, holding some names back, because she could be scared. And I got the Ace of Wands as well. So to me, this is saying yes, but I feel like she doesn't remember everything.
I would agree. I think she's telling the truth. The first card I pulled, though,
Right.
was the devil. And
Ooh.
so I
Okay.
think that there is a lot that happened. We talked about SRA a little bit earlier on in the
Mhm.
show. There very well may have been some satanic rituals that were taking place. There's definitely some dark arts that were happening behind the scenes. That's what I gather from that card. And then the second card I
Mhm.
got was the Hierophant reversed. So this guy knows all the secrets. And so
Right.
I think that she's sitting on some of the deeper, darker stuff. Like you said, maybe she
Mhm.
can't even remember it all. And
Right.
maybe the prosecution has, for now, decided not to even bring up any of the SRA or anything that's related to rituals or
Mhm.
Satanism or dark arts. But ultimately, it's going to come out, and
Wow.
that card again, um, it's going to bring some more sadness, more reflection, more
Mhm.
sense of loss. So I think that she's telling the truth. And like you said, Meg, it's not quite the whole truth. I
Right.
don't think that we're going to get necessarily the whole truth. Uh, the question is, when does the prosecution bring up anything related to, you know, satanic ritual or anything
Mhm.
that's in the vein of dark
Mhm.
magic and that sort of thing, which we know Hollywood is up to their ears in.
Right. Exactly. Carolyn 26 says she stated that she took drugs and sometimes woke up from the drugs during the freak off. Right. So she wasn't even coherent the time at the during the time, even when it just comes to drugs, let alone black magic going on. I pulled a clarifier on Will she remember will this trial make her remember some things? Justice.
Wow.
So whether she says it or not, I think this will help her remember some things. That's very, very interesting. And one of the things that I find the most interesting so far, yeah, Akasha, they do worship Moloch. For sure. Gerald, eyes wide shut, definitely. This dude, Jonathan Otto. So I'd never heard about him before. Luke, had you ever heard about him before this trial?
Yes, I had. The
Okay.
guy that went in and the last girl was saying, I forgot her name. Forgive me,
Yeah.
but yeah, he went into the Trump Tower and like shot up, the tower. He didn't kill anybody. He was in there. He destroyed a whole bunch of property. He shot at the police. It's kind of amazing. The guy didn't get killed. He got shot
Right.
in the leg, and then he got apprehended. And that's when he got taken into custody. And they were like, "Who the hell are you? Why the hell did you do this?" And he went
Right.
on this long ass diatribe talking about how he had this relationship with Diddy and Cassie, and that Diddy paid him to have sex with her. I mean, it sounded absolutely bonkers back then, but he did say, they're going to try to kill Trump, and this is all part of their plan. And he talked about the Illuminati. I mean, the guy was like all over the place, but streamlined. Like if you were just listening to this like out of the blue, it just sounded like the guy was totally crazy. But when you've been in this, woo world and following this stuff for long enough, it all tracks. So yeah, I had heard about him. And so his name came up in the trial.
Yeah. So I don't know how I'd never heard of this situation before. Jonathan Odie. So as you were saying, Luke, and I never even heard of he shot up a Trump Tower, but did he shoot anybody?
No, he didn't
No,
shoot anybody. He just went in there and destroyed
fired
some
shots.
furniture, and then the police came and he shot at the police. I mean, and I guess he was like a former porn star or something.
Sex worker.
So
So how he came up in the trial was Cassie. Am I saying that right? Cassie,
yeah, you got it.
Yeah, admitted that one of the sex workers she hired to have freak-offs with was Jonathan Otto. So this is someone that a lot of people wrote off in the conspiracy world because he shot up Trump Tower. Okay, he's crazy, he's schizophrenic, whatever, mentally unstable. But no, now we've got Cassie saying he was there. He was a part of it. And not only was he a part of the freak-offs, he took videos of the freak-offs from his phone, and Diddy paid him off, and he signed an NDA. And what I'm really excited to share with you guys is this deposition of Jonathan speaking, I guess maybe when he got arrested after he shot up the Trump Tower. Have you seen this yet, Luke?
I think I've seen part of this, but I've seen a few videos with Benny, so I'm not sure. We'll have to.
Okay. So this is intense. Prep yourselves for this.
In 2018. And it's on tape. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin. This is the official Jonathan Odie interrogation videos, where first he describes the relationship with Diddy and Cassie and says that Diddy paid him to have sex with Cassie, that she is now confirmed in court.
Okay, I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate, tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters.
So he describes how he was paid by Diddy to have sex with his girlfriend, and this happened about 15 times, and he was paid about $1,000 per session, and that he filmed these sessions. This is what he was describing in 2018. This again is Jonathan Odie. He's like an adult male porn star, and also like a Chippendales dancer is what he did as for his career. All right. Then he shoots at the Trump Hotel, and then he walks in and he gives his testimony that he's a sex slave and that he's paid to have sex with his girlfriend. This has now been confirmed. Okay, so what else does he say? Here's what he has to say about President Trump and why he shot up the Trump Tower, that Donald Trump is under threat of an assassination attempt.
With Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why I'm on the front desk and I blow the chandelier. Basically, what I did that for is to transmit a statement to the American people and to Donald Trump that we're not accepting more corruption and abuse from their system of France, okay? Donald's still blind because he thinks that he let Hillary off the hook and she's okay. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm trying. Okay, keep going.
It ain't like the CIA, and then they want to do the same thing they did JFK.
There it is.
Okay.
All right.
Why? Because they want the United States to fall. They've already been creating a state of chaos and confusion in the United States. They want the United States to fall. Donald was against their agenda and won the presidency. Okay.
So in this section of the interrogation, you can hear Jonathan Odie say that President Trump is going to be shot like JFK because Donald Trump stands against a system of corruption that has been put in place. What system of corruption is that? Well, here Jonathan Odie describes how Diddy, he knows, is a member of the Illuminati. It is a satanic cult that controls people that is run out of the CIA.
So, I know you may or may not, I know you're going to believe me. You have what's called the Illuminati.
Illuminati. Okay.
Yeah, Illuminati. Okay. They've made it in dance. Basically, what it means, illuminated. Okay. They do satanic ritual abuse, which is basically CIA mind programming techniques to their own family, kids, etc. are in the crew, and they bond that way. Okay, so they do sexual pedophilia, they do animal abuse, killing of animals, blood sacrifices, and everything in the Bohemian Grove. Okay,
right.
The Bohemian Grove, the bushes grow there. George C. and George, both of them are
He's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
They caught us with the Clintons. Okay.
So here he is saying that the Clintons and the Bushes are part of a satanic cult where it's pedophilic and they sacrifice animals. And then he talks further about the Clintons and how there is a Illuminati element that is the black Illuminati, that P. Diddy is part of that. He knows about this because he was at all of their parties and he was overhearing everyone talk about it.
With Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garagos and Ben Mercedes. Ben Mercedes worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years and worked for Hillary Rodman for 5. Okay.
So he's connecting Diddy to
He's
Clinton
connecting the dots
through the satanic cult and also through the Illuminati, and then saying that these people are, again, going to assassinate Donald Trump.
Night, Friday morning. I mean, how did all of this? I think I better understand what you're saying, but what I want to know is how did that prompt you? How did that make you do what you did?
Well, we're getting to a point that his assassination is coming, okay, because it's an agenda they perpetrate on the media and the news. Example, Madonna is a client of Mercedes, Ben Mercedes. He has her go on public TV and say, oh, someone should, I thought so many times of going up and blowing up the White House. Okay, they gave her that little message. That little message is Hillary's message, okay? Because Hillary sends it to Garagos, and Garagos gives it to Mercedes. And they give it to you.
Gotcha.
Okay, now
I get all that.
you're gonna need an internet so I can show you. If I show you the website, you're just gonna go like, oh fuck.
Okay, so it's going to be easy to write off this guy's insane ramblings. And by the way, the entire deposition is available online. You can go watch it for yourself. What you'll find here is you'll find that Jonathan Odie explains that because he was at so many Diddy parties and because he was so close with Diddy, he just overheard all of his conversations. That Diddy signed a $5 million NDA with him, which is true.
$5 million.
And now Cassie has confirmed that this was happening. This is the guy that was paid to have sex with her. So if all of those things are true, then what else is true? Right. Is Diddy part of a black Illuminati group? Is he like connecting the Clintons with it?
I mean, how many connections do we need to have to not say that somebody's crazy just because, okay, yes, he's a sex worker, which some people think is a little bit crazy. It's an alternative lifestyle. Yes, he went into a Trump Tower and shot it up and kind of had a manic episode or whatever there. But when you go through these situations, you act out, right? So what do you think about that video, Luke?
I mean, how many coincidences does it take before it's an impossibility, right?
Right.
She corroborated his story that Diddy paid him to come in and have sex with her on the stand. So that's true.
Yep.
We already saw that they almost took out Trump twice, maybe 3 times, right? For sure. We saw the bullet video. Everyone's seen that by now. So they tried to kill him. I mean, And actually, just today, Trump dropped a truth on Truth Social where it says all roads lead to Obama.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, he dropped it on Truth Social. So it's making its way over to X already. But I mean, Trump is now putting this stuff out. He's, putting it out in posts and, take it however you want. But
Right.
he's telling you what he's looking at. And so if he's dropping messages like that onto Truth Social, and now we saw that, Comey put out the 86-47 thing.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down. Of course, they're gonna go ahead and claim that it was 8,647 days since
I mean,
9/11,
yeah.
but they waited. This is what they do. They waited for that exact time, for that exact date, so that they could put
Right.
out this type of message and then say, oh no, it was, 8,647 days since 9/11. So interesting that somebody put that in shells. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't believe that story one bit. I think Comey
Yeah.
put that together himself, and
Mhm.
it meant what Trump and everybody else took it as.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get to Comey in a bit. First, I want to go to Trump, okay? Because Jonathan Odie brought up that they are making assassination attempts. He will get assassinated. We already have the assassination attempt, the serious one that happened this past summer. There have been several other assassination attempts, and that does show up in Trump's astrology, even though he has a very powerful one of the most freaking powerful astrology charts I've ever seen in my life, which makes me believe this is his real astrology chart, born June 14th, 1946 at 10:54 a.m. in Queens. I mean, I'm going to do a whole, after Trump's birthday, I'm going to do a whole astrology of Trump, his birth chart, his current transits, all that stuff. There's so much to say there, but he's a 22-degree Gemini sun. He's got Mars and Pluto in the 12th house. He's got Pisces at 22 degrees on his 8th house. So there is a potential here, and I'm sorry to say this, you guys, of assassination astrologically for Trump. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure. I do think he has a lot of divine protection. I do think that the stars impel, they don't compel. So, just because you have adverse aspects doesn't mean that you're going to get killed or die or whatever. And I think when someone is working for the good and light of humanity, there is a lot of divine protection that's going on there. Do you want to say something, Luke?
I was just going to say, with those 22s, I mean, the 22 is kill or be killed, right?
Exactly.
And I think Trump, and I mean this in the most positive of lights, but I think Trump's a killer.
Oh, yeah.
He's not the person that's going to sit by and let you kill him.
Yeah. Totally.
And I don't necessarily mean that in the sense that he is going to literally do it himself, but in sales, you've got people out there who refer themselves as the killers. They go out there and they hunt down deals, and they close the deals, and they're killers, when it comes to sales.
Right.
And Trump is that guy. He's an executioner. He knows how to execute. He knows how to get stuff done. And so, I agree. I think he's divinely protected. I don't think anybody's going to take him out. I think the Patriots have this in full control at this point.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? I just had a brain fart. What was that thing? This was like months and months ago. There was a clip of, I don't think it was Trump. It was someone talking about they had overheard Trump on a phone call with a world leader or someone else. And he was talking about, and his killer came out. He was like speaking as the killer. What was that? Oh my God, I'm going to have to figure out what that
was. Oh man.
And so someone overheard a phone call where Trump was like, and I'm getting chills as I say this because it was a very good,
right.
What was that?
Well, he sat down, he brought in the leader of the Taliban, or
right. Oh, was it the
something
Taliban?
like that. I'm not remembering all the details, but the moral of the story was this. He sat down with his interpreter and the leader of this organization,
Right.
and he showed him a picture of his house.
That's what
And
it was.
he said, take a look at that. And he said, he told his interpreter, if you do anything, we're going to kill you. And the guy had said, like, why are you showing me my house? Why are you showing me where I live? And he said, yeah, just know if you do that, if you do anything, we're going to kill you. And
Yes.
the interpreter looked at him like, and he's like, no, go ahead, say it, like, interpret that. And then he said it, and then he just got up and walked out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of other people there that witnessed it and were just like, damn. Talk about negotiating.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but that's who I want leading the free world. We need a motherfucking warrior up in here.
Yeah.
Okay. You are not going to mess with us. If you try to mess with us, here's your house. Here's everything I know about you. We're going to take you. If you're going to try to take us out, we're one step ahead of you.
Exactly.
Right?
I love Gandhi, but he's the wrong guy for this moment.
Right. And that was something so interesting that you're saying that, because I was thinking the other day about RFK Jr. and how he's now on Trump's administration. And he's such a nice guy, right? But in these times, we're literally in a psychological, spiritual war. We don't need and I love RFK Jr. totally, but we need a hardcore warrior up in here.
100%.
That people are scared of. That the bad guys are scared of, right? So interesting with Trump's chart. Also want to show you guys. Okay, we'll get to Comey in a second, Luke.
Yeah.
But we kind of skipped over Kim Porter, and I want to go back to that. Where the heck is her chart? Okay, here's her chart. So, okay, this really freaked me out because there was two charts I brought up. Well, I brought up Trump's, but I also have James Comey. We'll look at him in a moment. Kim Porter, born December 15th. James Comey, born December 14th. So I'm bringing up two charts in the same show where the people are born literally hours apart, both with the sun at 22 degrees.
Wow.
And I brought up Trump, who's at 22 degrees.
Wow.
So Kim Porter, for those of you who don't know, I don't know a lot about Kim Porter. Do you know much about Kim Porter, Luke?
I don't know a whole lot, but I watched that channeler a while back. I forgot
Sloan
her name.
Bella?
Yes. And she channeled her, Kim Porter.
Right.
Did you watch that?
I haven't seen that, no.
It was fascinating because, I mean, she's very detailed, and whatever your feelings and thoughts are on channelers, you know, those are yours. I get it.
Right.
But I totally think there's legitimacy to people being able to pass messages along from the other side.
Right.
And she channeled Kim Porter and her message. And there was a lot of details in relation to nefarious goings on that essentially, you know, she was trying to get away from Diddy, and that she was concocting a plan of how to essentially escape. And what was channeled was that somebody in her inner circle ratted her out and basically told Diddy, or, you know, tipped somebody's hat that she was going to do this and that she was going to escape. And then shortly thereafter she was dead. And now we know it was pneumonia. And I didn't know that cyanide turned into pneumonia. So, you know, there's a lot of question there as to whether or not she was poisoned.
Right. And interesting that big homie CC, the bodyguard of Diddy that we brought up earlier, had pneumonia 3 times after being with Diddy. Multiple other people got pneumonia. You don't just get a pneumonia. That's a very serious thing to get. Right.
And Jamie Foxx, you remember when Jamie Foxx said that Diddy tried to poison him, or that Diddy did poison him. And then he wound up in a coma and woke up, I don't know how many days later, but Jamie Foxx claims that Diddy poisoned him.
Yeah. That is freaking wild. So yeah, Kim Porter, we're bringing her up because of course that's very suspicious. That's a suspicious death having to do with Diddy. So is Tupac. Some people allegedly claim Diddy had something to do with Tupac. So on day 4 of this week 2 of trial, Cassie brought up Kim Porter. She was brought up in the examination. So Kim Porter, what year was it that she died? I think it was 2018, 2019, something like that. So we don't know her exact time of birth, but I think Kim Porter was born very early in the morning, like before 6 a.m., because that would make her a 22-degree Sagittarius sun. Like Luke said earlier, that is the degree of to kill or be killed in Nikola Stojanovich's degree theory. And actually, she might even also be a moon 22 degrees Cancer. There's a 2-hour period there in the early morning when she was born where the moon was also at 22 degrees. And this would make her Scorpio rising. And I don't know about you guys, but when I look at this lady, the rising is how we look. She looks like
a Scorpio.
So she's either a Scorpio or a Libra. Okay, which no, that's not a Libra. You look at that lady, you're like, oh, she's been through some shit. She's got some edge. She's been through some freaking shit.
Yeah.
So, and even though she's a Sag, she's got a Scorpio stellium, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Scorpio. Diddy, of course, is a Scorpio. So they have that connection, and that's the dark aspect of that sign. It can go into the darkest aspects of life, right? So we see that Hillary Clinton is a Scorpio, Joe Biden is a Scorpio. I mean, I could sit here for hours and hours. They've all got either a Scorpio sun or a very heavy Scorpio placement. So very interesting.
She died November 15th, 2018.
Oh, wow. November 15th, 2018, during Scorpio season. Interesting. Sandra says, Cassie said she was jealous of Kim because she had 3 kids with Diddy. I'm sure maybe there was some jealousy there, probably. I mean, if there's somebody like Diddy that's your partner and they're a powerful person, you're going to want them all to yourself. I may just be projecting that on Cassie, but of course you'll be probably jealous of the ex-partner or whatever, right?
Sure.
So James Comey, we're bringing him. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot to say that I think it was like the first on Monday of this week, Luke, that they played the 15-minute video of Diddy abusing Cassie. So that was played right off the bat.
Was it the one in the hotel or a different one?
That's the one in the hotel.
Okay.
So for those of you guys who haven't seen that, I'm not going to play that because trigger warning, it's very, very graphic. But if you do want to see that, that is on YouTube of Diddy in a hotel from, I forget what year it is, but you can just go type in Diddy Hotel Cassie and you can see the full video of him beating the shit out of her. And again, there seems to be some superhuman strength going on in these videos and these accusations, all that kind of stuff. So that's been put out. Did you want to say something?
I think that drug that we were alluding to earlier leads to an increased strength, right? It's like a beer muscles, as they call it, right? Where some drunk guy is just, you see him able to fight 2 or 3 guys just because he's high on adrenaline and he's drunk out of his mind. And, it doesn't always go like that. Those people get knocked out a lot too. But, you hear cops talk about that sort of thing, dealing with somebody that's under the influence of alcohol and just ridiculous strength that comes out of nowhere. That ameninome thing that you mentioned,
ameninome,
that leads people to feeling very powerful. It gives you heightened feelings of sexuality, and it just gives you this feeling of euphoria and strength. And so who knows when and how that drug is being used.
Exactly. Very, very interesting. And we've also got another very suspicious individual connected to this case. James Comey's daughter is key to Diddy prosecution after taking down Epstein accomplice. Maureen Comey is one of 8 prosecutors for U.S. Attorney's Office in Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial. So I'm a Canadian, Luke. I know James Comey. I've heard about him for years, but I knew he was the FBI director. I don't know a lot about this dude. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown on who James Comey is?
Yeah, so he was the director of the FBI prior to, well, when Hillary Clinton was the president, and then for a short time while uh, Trump was the president. Trump fired him, and he's tied into the whole Steele dossier. And
Right.
if you don't remember what the Steele dossier is, maybe you might more popularly know it as the P tape, right? It was the whole accusation that they had this tape that Donald Trump was urinating on a prostitute, and
Right.
they made up this story. There's a fantastic documentary on it called The Plot Against the President, which, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Really
Mm,
boils the whole thing down, which was hard to follow because it was, again, over the period of like 18 months. And this stuff
right.
is so dense when you get into legal jargon and all of that. So it's a great documentary for that. But the moral of the story was that he was tied to that. Hillary Clinton had hired a Ukrainian Soviet socialist who was living in the United States. His name eludes my mind. I talk about him in the book,
Yeah.
but what he did was he came up with this story and leaked it to the media. The media then started airing this, on Fox and on CNN. And so then they took that story because of the media pressure. They were able to go into a FISA court, which is, a secret clandestine court that
Hmm.
is used to try, cases where there's state secrets and stuff like that involved. Those types of cases are supposed to be airtight. All of the
Hmm.
evidence that comes through is supposed to be corroborated and proven multiple ways before any verdict or decision is made, because
Right.
you're essentially you are making a court decision for or against somebody who's not there to represent themselves. So again, it's a clandestine court system. And so they
Hmm.
used that story to then get the FISA court to get two warrants for or to get a warrant to get two agents into Trump's campaign. So they essentially gave the court the court gave them the thumbs up to have two agents infiltrate Trump's campaign and then essentially try to find dirt on him. So they
Hmm.
used all of this to then try to get into Trump's inner circle and then find out, all right, what is this guy involved in? What crime has he committed? Because we know he's committed something, right? That
Right.
was the whole notion. And then when they got in there, and it was like, there's really nothing here. We can't get him for anything. And then he won the presidency. That's when they knew that they were in big trouble, because
Right.
then Trump had access to everything. He was able to find out exactly who got into his inner circle. How did this
Hmm.
happen? How did the FISA court end up actually making this verdict against him, again, without him knowing or him being there? And so, yeah, I mean, this is a big case in point. And, Comey's in hot water now. I mean, that was a
Hmm.
big thing for him to actually be a part of, because it insinuates that, yeah, he was part of essentially um, committing treason against a running president.
Hmm. What a fucking weirdo. Like, can I just say he looks weird? He
Yes.
looks weird. Physically, a lot of these dark arts people, as I like to call them, there's something different about him. I don't know how to quite put my finger on it, but he's different from the rest of them. And some of you guys may think I'm totally crazy for saying this, but maybe he's some kind of hybrid of some sort, or like he's just got a very weird look, a very weird vibe. And I get the absolute creeps looking at him. I've never investigated James Comey before. This is really the first day I've had a kind of in-depth analysis conversation. He just seems off. There's something really off.
Yeah, he's very tall. I was actually
Is he?
surprised when I saw him on a stage. Yeah, he's like right at Trump's height, or maybe
Wow.
just a little bit shorter. Trump would, of course, say he's shorter.
Right. Oh, Trump would say, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, there's a lot of different elements. His daughter is one of the prosecutors for this case. Okay,
Right.
interesting. So his energy is kind of lingering it over it. During the case this week, he tweeted, as you said, Luke, this X post of a picture of shells on a beach, 86, or actually it's on his Instagram, 8647. Okay,
Mhm.
we all know what that means. And in the description, he said, cool shell formation on my beach walk.
Yeah, so
Okay,
cool.
so cool. 86 to kill, 47 President Trump. So let's lock him up right now. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, I think he's going away. I think this was just the entry point that Trump and his team needed to get in there, start going after a guy like this. And now, I mean, he's opened up a gateway into the FBI and everything that
Right,
was going on during, his tenure as the director of the FBI. So
right.
he made a huge mistake. I mean, this is monumental. And I don't know what
Mhm,
he was thinking, because obviously this happened while Trump was traveling to foreign countries. Um,
mhm.
so a message that you're putting out there to the world while your president is traveling into unknown foreign territory, and you're insinuating that somebody should take this guy out. I was curious the other day, how did 86 become the number for, kill it, right? I always when
Right,
I worked in restaurants, that was just a code that the chefs used. So that's how I always knew what 86 meant, right? The
right.
chef would be like 86 the steak, right? It just meant like kill it, let everyone know there's no more left, right?
Right.
So I wonder how that
That's so
oh,
funny that you guys say I didn't know that in the
yeah.
restaurant industry.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so
That
funny.
was how I learned about 86, but I wonder where it really came from. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah. I mean, just take that in for a moment, you guys, how messed up this is that, and I'll just bring the picture up again, that the past FBI director of the United States of America literally posted this picture. They they just think they can get away with anything, don't they? It
Yeah.
makes me so angry when I see that. They just think they can is this the real James Comey? Should we maybe pull cards on that? Is this even Comey?
Right. Well, he's got the black and white picture. So if you ask me, I would say
Oh,
no, because this is, again, one of the things that I talk about in my book is that
right.
some of these people are being dealt with behind the scenes. Some of them are being dealt with in the public, like we're watching with P.
Yeah.
Diddy right now. But some of these people have already been dealt with behind the scenes, and the Patriots, the Trump team, has been letting people know through these comms with black and white, Instagram or X
Yeah.
photos. Anytime that you see a politician with the black and white photo, it's my opinion that they're
Right.
already gone.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to share with you guys, I love Owen Schroyer from InfoWars. He's an absolute badass. And this was him confronting James Comey. I don't know when this was, if this was recently or what. So cool. Take a listen to this.
Comey! The fired FBI director, James Comey! The deep state hero, James Comey! The Democrat hero, James Comey! You did it! He illegally investigated Donald Trump! Thank you, Comey, for weaponizing the FBI against Donald Trump! Thank you for covering up Hillary Clinton's crimes and set the stage for the FBI to cover up the Biden crimes, too. Come on, y'all! Let's hear it for James Comey! Oh, we love the FBI! We love the federal government! Why? You don't love the FBI? You guys don't appreciate James Comey weaponizing the government against Donald Trump? Come on, James. You should be happy. Donald Trump is the bad guy. We should be happy Comey Don't weaponize the government against Trump. What the heck? I don't understand. He's a hero.
The police officer's laughing.
I'm so excited. I don't know why these people aren't as excited as me. Sorry, my excitement, officer.
Oh my God, that is
Wow.
so freaking funny. I love that. So it's so much being revealed during the process of this P. Diddy trial. And is it true, Luke? Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but I saw some people posting that it's been 8,649 days since 9/11 that he posted that post.
So yeah, the 8647, the day that he dropped that was that is the rumor. I haven't checked it with Grok or anything, but that was what is being said, is that it was 8,647 days since 9/11. And Comey claims that he assumed that it was some sort of political message.
Yeah.
I mean, why not just say that in your post then, rather than saying, oh, look at this really cool formation that I found. I mean, if that's your idea of cool, you've got the lamest idea of cool in the
Yeah.
history of mankind.
Right.
So
Oh my
it's
God.
just total bullshit.
It is bullshit. Should we pull some cards on what's coming up for James Comey, the brand of James Comey, the alien shapeshifter suit of James Comey? Interesting, he's connected to this trial. Maybe we can just pull in general what's coming up for him over the next 3 months. Now that he just posted that, what are we going to see happen?
Yeah.
Because that's serious. Tulsi Gabbard said she wants to put him in jail on Fox News.
I think
Good for her.
should be.
Yeah.
I think jail's too kind for a lot of these people.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh.
What have you got? I've got some intense stuff. Wow.
Right out of the gate. He's going down. Page of Pentacles, his little message that he put out, the truth behind it of what everybody assumes, what it is that he actually meant. Everyone gets it. It's spot on. And then I think whether or not he ends up at Gitmo is 50-50. He might take the easy way out.
Right. Intense. That's freaking intense. Okay, so you got a major arcana. I got 2 major arcana. You got the Tower right away. We got the Death. Woo woo. So might already be dead.
Yeah.
Like might already be dead. Or okay, we're not calling upon anybody's death, YouTube gods. Let's be very clear. There's an energy of death around him. Intense endings. And the world. This is making me feel, this is a very positive card. This is making me feel like it's a full circle moment for our community. I'm feeling like, and forgive me, you guys, because I'm not very familiar with James Comey, but I feel like a lot of you guys, maybe more the Americans, will be very happy about this. And it's kind of like a world positive moment, a full circle moment, because some of the things you just described there, Luke, were really messed up that he's been a part of, and justice needs to be served for that. Right. And I got the King of Cups reversed as well. What does it say on there? Lack of emotional intelligence, lack of control, merciless, shifty in dealings, coldness. Yeah. He's a very weird guy. This is not a normal human we're dealing with here. And I feel like he's maybe even being dealt with in a different way, maybe even dealt with in a different kind of facility. I'm seeing like underground facilities psychically. I'm getting like the heebie-jeebies. I feel he's not human.
As Janine always says, that guy is a psychological genius. And when he's negatively aspected, that just means that the guy is, into nefarious things. I mean, to have that first card there, you had the Death card, and then you've got the King reversed, the King of Cups reversed. he knew exactly what he was putting out. He's way too smart to not know what
Mhm.
86 means. And if what you're saying is, oh, well, it was, 8,647 days since 9/11,
Right.
you didn't say that in your post at all,
Mhm.
so you just put out a message that anybody could interpret the way that we have. And if you innocently did that, well, then you just fucked up big time, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
You
come
you
on.
deserve to go to jail just for being that dumb.
Yeah, you okay, come on. That's all I have to say about that. You were the
Right.
past FBI director. Come on. We're not stupid. Hello.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just want to bring up his chart here real quick. So, 22-degree Sagittarius. We don't know his time of birth, but he's either a moon in Scorpio or a moon in Libra. I'm going to go with a moon in Scorpio conjunct Neptune. And I think he's an alien. So, I'm going to give him an Aquarius rising. And if he is an Aquarius rising, then that means Pluto is on his rising right now, which makes sense. The death card. When Pluto comes around, that's no games. When Pluto, Luke and I went through that. We both have Capricorn placements. We went through that the past 15 years. All of you that are Aquarians, I love you all very much, but there's no games with Pluto. So if you've been bad, he's going to come around and give you a kick in the butt, maybe even a near-death experience to bring you into shape. And so I think this is the rectification chart I give for James Comey. I think he's a moon in Scorpio, Aquarius rising. I think as more and more of this information comes out, it's kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, Luke, that maybe not with this trial, the kid stuff will come out, right? Maybe it's going to have to take several different trials where there's different layers of the information being exposed. The shapeshifter piece, the children piece, the ritual.
Right.
There's so much here that for people that are unaware, I'm
Yeah.
seeing like psychically Men in Black. There's a whole other world going on in the
Right.
world people are living in that they have no idea is happening.
Absolutely. And, what you just mentioned with like the shapeshifters, the aliens, the reptilians, I intentionally don't get into any of that in my book, even though I believe it to be the case, just because, in my opinion, it gets to be too much for the average person to come around to. And for me, the biggest focus was the children and bringing that to light. And, you don't need to believe in aliens to get that, there's people out there that are willing to harm children for their own gratification. And
Right.
so I pumped the brakes intentionally there on that side, but I'm totally right there with you guys. I think there are otherworldly things going on, and if we're not, being open to it, then we're just sort of putting blinders on ourselves to everything that could be possible right now.
Yeah. Totally. Definitely.
And
There's
one other thing, I mean,
Mhm.
we haven't even really touched on the fact that his daughter is on the prosecution against
Exactly.
Diddy.
Yeah.
And she was the prosecutor against Ghislaine Maxwell. So
Mhm.
successfully, helped put Ghislaine behind bars. But I'm really wondering now with what her father's going through, if
Mhm.
we might see her leave this case. I mean, I don't know how you continue to go through a trial like this for 8 weeks when
Mhm.
your father is in such hot water. And I
Right.
mean, it's the type of hot water that could land him behind bars for the rest of his life.
Mhm.
So, and then how does that impact her career, her reputation? I mean, you're his offspring,
Mhm.
it just brings a lot of stuff into question there, I think.
Yeah, it feels like I was feeling this before we went live. I feel like, okay, we've had week 1, we've had week 2, week 3, Saturn is moving into Aries on May 24th. So we've been in this Saturn in Pisces with Neptune in Pisces. Now Neptune's in Aries. Okay, finally we've got the ruler of Pisces out. But granddaddy Saturn going into Aries, this is bam, bam, bam. This is going to move very fast. Saturn rules laws, justice, karmic
Mhm.
retribution. So I feel like, okay, like kind of like what that lady was saying, Lauren, who does the great updates on X, she's like, they're talking about the abuse he's done, but we haven't gotten into the trafficking. We haven't gotten into the racketeering. I feel like coming week 3, week 4, with Saturn going into Aries, it's going to be bam, 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 bam.
Right.
A lot for us to go over, I think.
You've got to set the stage, right? There's a reason why, and I just refer to my book because,
Yeah.
you know, it's my starting point.
Right.
But, you know, in my book, when I was thinking about, okay, well, how do I get to this point that is, you know, so hard for people to hear and bear? How do I walk people through this process of connecting these dots? And you've got to start in an area that is relatable, right? How many people out there have been domestically abused? Lots, right? How many, is it hard to believe that, you know, he beat her, that, you know, he sold her essentially to escorts and that sort of thing. All right. This all just becomes like setting the scene, right? Where then you're going to act out, you're going to get on the stage and go, okay, so here's how this really happened. You can't really do that with a blank scenery, without really knowing, like, who is this character? You know, how does this person operate? What have they done? And so, yeah, I think that they are laying that groundwork for people to really walk away with a sense of like, all right, I get who this guy is enough to know what's within character and what's outside of character.
Yeah, for sure. That's such a good point. And I just, to Lynn's comment, just pulled a couple clarifier cards on Maureen Comey moving forward. And we've got the 6 of Pentacles reversed, which that's interesting. It says pride of riches, debts, selfishness, power dynamics. I feel like you're right, Luke. I feel like we might see her off this case because what her dad just did was treasonous.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
No.
Right? So that's a total disgrace. That's going to be over all their family for the rest of their lives. And we've also got the Judgment card. So I see her, like, psychically, I see her wanting to be on this case. Whether she's on the good side, whether she's on the bad side, I'm picking up very strong. She wants to be a part of this really, really bad. Maybe even just for clout, maybe even just for her own life path and career or whatever. But the Judgment card is saying, no, 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 there's going to be a major change. You know,
Yeah.
we carry.
No,
Sorry,
go
Rory.
ahead.
I was just about to say, we carry our parents' mistakes.
Yes.
That's something
also,
we have to work through.
We tend to, you know, if you've had a decent, you know, even an okay childhood, I mean, even people with bad childhoods can still idolize, you know, their mother or their father, despite all of their flaws and their failures. I mean, shoot, Diddy's kids are in there listening to every detail about all
How
these,
weird is that?
you know, sex acts and behaviors that he did. I mean, do you think they're sitting there going, wow, dad's a piece of shit? No, they're probably like, I mean, my real question is, does he have them there sort of sizing up jurors, you know, going, hey, we need you to get to somebody. And we need you to talk to somebody, and whether it's through a bribe or through threat, we need you to influence this trial, is what I'm wondering. But maybe she didn't know. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she didn't know all of the nefarious things that James Comey was involved in. Maybe she thinks he's a very upstanding man, you know. To me, he kind of looks like a Who from Whoville, you know. Yeah, he looks like one of these, you know, the lips and his face, the way that it's shaped, like one of these sort of like, you know, dumb oafs, you know. But
that's so funny.
Behind that is somebody who's, you know, very keyed in, knows exactly what all these little codes mean. You know, all the FBI has an entire list of signs, symbols, words that, you know, pedophiles use to talk about their exploits, the things that they're going after. They don't just talk about, oh, let me go after these kids. They're talking about hot dog parties and pizza parties. Sounds innocent. He knows all of that stuff. So he knows what 86 meant.
He knows what 86 meant.
Yeah,
Definitely.
totally.
Tim says Lurch from the Addams Family. I can see that. He could be a Lurch.
Totally. He could
Yeah.
definitely be a
He could
lurch.
that's
Yep.
that's very creative mind you have there, Tim. So we're getting to the end point of our show. I've got to do my Beyond Astro weekly forecast soon. Another clip that you shared, Luke, with me earlier. This is very disturbing.
Hmm. Yeah. What
What?
happened to this girl? I haven't seen. She's like gone. She's got no social media. Nobody's talking
What?
about her anymore. I mean, what happened to this little girl? Now, just pause for a moment
Yeah.
and think
Yeah.
about all the terrible stuff that Cassie has just said, admitted
Mm,
that he had her do, and the horrific details of what has entailed in these freak off parties. And right now, we're only scratching the tip of the iceberg.
mhm.
And now this guy has picked up a young girl off the street and become her dad.
Oh,
I
did
mean,
she
I'm
say that?
sorry. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah,
Whoa.
he claimed to be her new dad, her black dad. And so with all the degenerate behavior that we know that this guy's involved in, what really happened to this girl?
Oh my God, that is terrifying. Okay, we'll play this little clip here.
I was on the streets, and then Papa Combs decided that he would like to be a caring man. So then he saw me and decided to pick me up and said to come inside and play with his kids.
That was on a live stream, by the way, and afterwards Diddy tried to cover it up, but you can clearly hear her words there. He picked her up off of the street and said to come in and play with his kids. Pretty crazy, right? Especially when you consider the
So I was
Oh
on
my
the
God.
streets, and then
That's,
Papa Combs.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, honestly.
And I'm pretty sure that's his son behind him there too.
Ew.
So, and some of the details that have come out about, Justin Bieber, and we all know how that started when he was 16.
Mhm.
But then some of the details that have now come out about, the things that his sons have done with Bieber. I mean, it just
What
breaks
the
my heart for
hell?
that kid. Like, yeah, I mean, he has groomed his own sons into this
Oh my
lifestyle.
God.
It's disturbing.
That's disgusting. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to see in the cards that we got earlier that it looks like some of this children's stuff might be coming out with this
Yeah.
trial. So let's send our prayers to that because it's about time. Seriously. Luke, thank you so much for joining me on
Absolutely. My
today's
pleasure.
show. I'd love to have you for any of the upcoming weekly recaps during this trial.
Absolutely.
So yeah, for sure. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. And you can go find Redpill Rooster over on Amazon. His book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills. I love that title.
Thank you.
Is available Kindle edition and paperback. And also we've got your link tree in the description box for your socials. You've had your TikTok. How many TikToks have you had banned so far?
I've had 3 banned. I'm on my 4th, but I'm not really doing a whole much, too much with it. But I'm kind of hoping that Trump's gonna work something out. You remember when he was saying, "Oh, we're either gonna own TikTok or it's not gonna exist in the United
Right.
States."
Mhm.
I've got faith that Big Daddy Trump's gonna come home with TikTok, and some things might change there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Looking forward to it. Big Daddy Trump. Awesome. And you guys can find my links in the description box as well. And Jens and I have a retreat in just over a month that we're going to be doing in Algonquin Provincial Park in
Wow.
Ontario, Canada, in Commie Land. Okay. But things are going to get better. I promise you guys. We're going to have so much fun. Linda's going to be there. MJ's going to be there in the chat. Summer solstice retreat. Sunny made this poster. I love this poster so much with the Sasquatch. We're going to be celebrating the summer solstice, doing some grounding, earth gazing. I meant to say earthing, stargazing, moose excursions. Algonquin Park is famous for its moose, all kinds of amazing fun activities in like-minded community to celebrate the summer solstice. So that's what we've got to share with you guys. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Luke, you just made a YouTube channel, right? Redpill Rooster.
I did. I'm working on a couple of things behind the scenes here that are going to come out. Well, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, I've got some content that I'm going to be bringing out in relation to my book, and I'm looking forward to showing it all with you guys. But for now, I got to keep it under wraps.
Awesome. Yay. Well, we look forward to that. And some heavy subject matter, you guys. Okay, it can be intense, but it is important for us to bring this darkness to light. We are the light warriors at this time. So I'm very grateful and humbled to stand with all of you on this journey. It's amazing times to be alive. So we will see you next week, sending lots of love your way. Bye, everybody.